Hello, dear viewers, and welcome to our today's episode. Today, we're going to discuss amazing news that came from the US and Tanzania. This is a new step, a new, stage in the development of the investigation of alleged crimes committed by Czech national Jakub Jahl in Tanzania against African children. They have been vocal about this. They have been trying to reach out to the world for many years, telling the horrifying details of the abuse. And finally, they have been heard thanks to the support worldwide of people who are not indifferent to this sort of tragedies, especially ALLATRA volunteers, the volunteers of International Public Movement ALLATRA, who focus on the threats that comes from natural disasters, but also the human rights. Those two things are extremely important in today's world, and a lot of volunteers became the voice of the African children. Pastor Mark Burns, the spiritual advisor of President Donald Trump, had this conversation with the advisor of the President of Tanzania, and they discussed the topic. And I think for everyone who has been following the case, these are great news. Right now, it's going to be addressed at the highest level. Stephen, I know you have seen the video. What are your impressions?
Yeah, man, it truly is amazing because what was once done in the dark is now brought for all people to see what's really going on. And these kids, they've gotten themselves lawyers. They have a voice now. They have people behind them that support them, not only with, bringing not only for them being victims and getting justice, but also hopefully a recovery process afterwards. So it really is great to see the efforts that have been made, not just in Tanzania, but on a global scale. The documentaries that exposed all of these atrocities done by Jakub Jahl, not just once, not just twice, but 3 times, and then even some testimonials of people that have worked with Jakub. That would be documentary 4. So there's been tons and tons of testimonies from these children, from people that worked with Jakub, and none of it's good. None of it's good. It's straight out of a nightmare. And you really wouldn't wish these actions on your worst enemy. So to hear that the ambassador of Tanzania is putting his best foot forward to take action and make sure that these sorts of things don't happen is a testament to his character. And it's also like a stepping stone, because we imagine, like, especially unwealthier countries such as Tanzania and around the world, these people in these villages, they don't, and they even say so themselves in the documentary, like, we don't have much of a say. Like, if we go to the authorities, like, we don't know what's going to happen or if it's even going to be handled. So unfortunately, they just have to carry all of this weight on their shoulders. So it really is an amazing thing to see what the local lawyers have done for the kids, to see what ALLATRA has been doing, and to see now that this case is really being brought to the highest level of authorities, not just in the United States, not just in Tanzania, but also the Czech Republic. Now, we're yet to see how all of this stuff is going to play out, but we know that there is action in place right now as we speak. And if I was Jakub, I would certainly be taking a moment to reflect on what my next action might be. Hopefully he makes the right one, but why don't we go ahead and see what sort of movement is taking place here between Pastor Burns and the ambassador.
Yes, let's watch a short part of the video published by Pastor Mark Burns.
So stories that we are hearing, and obviously this came to my attention mostly after my encounter with your assistant in Washington, D.C. I share this with the Attorney General of Tanzania, and we would like to take this further in terms of understanding, first of all, how did this happen, whether or not government itself was involved in investigation, at what level did the local police know, how did he live Did migration people know? Did he get support from some local people? Did he have help in the way? Was corruption involved? I mean, there are a lot of questions. What I can assure you, I'm also going to bring this to the attention of President herself when I meet her on the 4th, specifically about this conversation and about the children in question. Especially, I had a chance to view really horrific video, because if you hear Swahili, then you understand the cry, the suffering that some of these children have endured. In English, translation comes a little bit less. So my assistant actually was crying. I mean, it was really very, very sad to watch. So a couple of things. One, I want to bring this to the attention of my president herself. Secondly, Attorney General will be involved in revisiting this case as far as Tanzania is concerned, whether or not they had the gentleman and the lady from Czech Republic had a conspirator or people conspired together in our land, and what remedies that could be taken, and also to have a look at this center. I would personally plan to visit this center before coming to see you.
So they're going to get boots on the ground. They're going to go there directly and see for themselves. And those were some like really good questions that he asked, right? Like, how do you get out of the country? How do you do all of these things and snake his way out of the country?
So, as we know, he was arrested by the police in Tanzania, but somehow he was able to flee the country. And this part of the investigation is also very important, whether he had somebody backing him up. Because we know from the documentaries, Jakub Jahl was bragging about having politicians backing him up. In Tanzania, possibly, we have seen that there are certain figures in Czech Republic who stood in his defense. So right now, with the involvement of, the highest ranking politicians in both USA and Tanzania, we are going to see this case developing much faster than some people would like in Czech Republic. But it's inevitable, because truth is the most powerful thing. And thanks to the documentaries, thanks to the journalists who went there, who recorded the accounts of the victims, right now the whole world knows what happened.
I think it's only a matter of time before it develops further. And it's kind of funny, right? Because they seem to be putting themselves between a rock and a hard place. Every single time there is further news about the investigation, there is further testimonies, further officials within the law that are taking the right steps. We see a plethora of people coming out of the woodwork that are trying to defend Jakub. And it's always the same rhetoric, and it's always easy to see exactly who is sending this message. They pretend he's a victim. They pretend that he's a scholar and that he would never do such a thing, and that people are out to get him. And they paint him as this innocent little boy that would never do such a thing. And then you have people that are directly on the ground in this village, showing a picture of him to young children. And here they tell the same story again and again and again. So it is not some conspiratorial thing that people are out to get him. It's the fact that he did something, and now the truth is out there. And as you mentioned, there's nothing stronger than that.
Yes, and also what is very nice to hear in this video is that Pastor Mark Burns has already spoke to the President of the United States, and First Lady has been informed as well. She takes the matter of protecting children very seriously. And right now it's, State Department of the US already has this information, and they took steps. They already got in touch with the Embassy of Czech Republic. So there are steps being made right now to get this case investigated. Nobody is going to be able to sweep it under the rug. Nobody is going to be able to silence the witnesses and the victims. This case will be investigated. The line of, not even defense, but this attempt to smear those who are telling the truth, who are being the voice of the African children, those who are trying to stand in defense of Jakub Jahl, they will have to face some serious questions very soon. And when we're talking about the entire network to which Jakub Jahl belongs, right? The network of so-called cult experts. The entire network is, according to the investigations of the specialists, is being run by a Russian national, Alexander Dworkin, who operates directly under FSB, running his network called Raiders. Well, Raiders itself is a destructive cult or totalitarian sect, according to the criteria that were established by this very organization. So we are facing a very interesting thing when there is an international network that defends alleged pedophile Jakub Jahl. And what is even more shocking is that the case of Jakub Jahl is not a standout accident in this network. We have seen some people speaking up lately. Specifically, there is one famous anti-cultist who belongs to this network. His name is Steven Hassan. He's a violent deprogrammer who used to kidnap and torture people in the US during the days of deprogramming. But later, as we know, he was working with the Dutch national Anton Heijn. Anton Heijn was arrested in California for molesting children, and Steven Hassan continued promoting him even after that. Well, Heijn was able to flee California when he was released early. He had no right to leave the state, but he escaped. And nevertheless, Steven Hassan continued promoting a pedophile. We know the case of a Mexican anti-cultist who was running a network of shelters in which children were supposed to get help after they were taken away from their families who were accused of being cultists, right? So what was actually happening in these children is that children were, this was a child trafficking ring. So here is Steven Hassan and Anton Heijn, who have been best buddies for a very long time. And here is George Elderly Graham, the anti-cultist from Mexico who was caught on molesting children and on organizing a child trafficking ring. Both of these cases, again, in line with what Jakub Jahl was doing in Tanzania to African children. And further investigation of this case, considering what is happening in Russia. And, recently there was a video published called the Pedophile Shadows of Anti-Cult, which shows the horrifying picture that under the label of anti-cultism, international network of predators have been operating for decades. Alexander Dworkin is the ringleader of this totalitarian sect. He collected all the most deranged individuals from various countries. They all have been doing basically one thing, promoting his Nazi ideology, the ideology of supremacy of their beliefs. And if you take a look at all these people, Alexander Alvaro is, by the way, one of the agents. And if we look at the way they operate, and if we look closer at this investigation and at everyone who has been standing in Jakub Jahl's defense, this is one network. This is one organization that stands in defense of one of its individuals, but you have seen a massive support he gets from politicians in Czech Republic, which points to the fact that Russian FSB network has its people in Czech Republic, in European state, in the very highest positions of power. And what is happening here? Why they are so eager to defend this deranged individual? I think not because this is just one case they're so passionate about. It's about the house of cards. This entire network is about to collapse. And we are at the very beginning of a massive event that we are going to witness when this entire thing is going to get exposed. So, Stephen, I think we should thank all the participants of ALLATRA International Public Movement for tremendous job, for tremendous work that has been done throughout, long period of time when, constant smear campaigns, constant attacks, and what has been done in Russia. That's the area which is controlled by the cult of Alexander Dworkin, but by his totalitarian sect, which merged with FSB, Russian intelligence service. They started basically the inquisition of modern time, persecuting people. FSB gets into the houses of, elderly people and young people and just, doing this terrorizing things, kind of like Gestapo, torturing people with plastic bags over their heads, torturing them with electric shocks, to force them to sign some sort of a paper which is going to lead to even more persecution based on the smear and lies of one individual obsessed with enlarging its own power and influence. And we're not talking about Russia only. This individual has much broader ambitions. He has network that operates all over Europe, that has its tentacles in the United States. We have seen him operating through BBC, the British broadcast service, which was supposed to be objective, which long ago was considered this newspaper that is the ultimate source of truth. Right now, it's infiltrated by the Russian FSB agents. We have seen the articles glorifying Alexander Dworkin, deranged psychopath who has medical records from a psychiatric hospital that were published online. It's confirmed that they're real. Schizophrenia and cyclothymia was among the diagnoses that were mentioned by his doctors in the medical records. So, nevertheless, individuals like Alexandra Stein, like her BBC colleagues, continued to publish in his articles, to push in his agenda. And if you take a look what kind of organizations they were targeting, you will see that those are the same organizations Alexander Dworkin was targeting in Russia. Was it merely an accident that all of a sudden across the globe in multiple newspapers here and there, the same copy-pasted narratives were published on the very same dates sometimes, right? So as we spoke before, right now, Jakub Jahl is basically becoming this weak link in entire network, which is about to expose the entire thing. So apparently he had handlers, most likely, right? Because he's either a psychopath or he had handlers. So whether he and who exactly his handlers were is the key question. And I think the biggest threat to Jakub Jahl comes precisely from the FSB affiliated individuals, from the network of FSB, because we know the poisoning has been just one of the ways they operate, but they have been, going after people in Spain, in the United Kingdom. They have been going after people all over the globe. So FSB has long tentacles. And what they don't like is somebody who's about to expose their entire operation. So Jakub Jahl should really think twice about what is he going to do now. Because all his pathetic attempts to justify his behavior with, desire to inject vitamins into children's bodies, that's not going to get him far. I think his days are numbered, so as the days of the anti-cult network. And I think the more investigation is going to go into the details of how this totalitarian sect that was, covering its operation, disguising it as anti-cult activities, what they were actually doing, what their actions were, and who were the individuals. I think this sort of individuals like George Orderly Graham from Mexico, like Stephen Hassan and Anton Hein, basically two individuals who were working, and again, Hassan is still operating, again, with Alexandra Stein from the UK, pushing the same agenda to radicalize the population in the United States. We are going to see much more. So, guys, I think we all are about to see much more coming up. Stephen, what would you like to add?
Buckle up, because I think it's going to be a wild ride for everyone. Because, as you said, this is an international thing. And if we take Jakub as the avatar for what is happening on an international scale with all of these individual agents, these atrocities could be happening everywhere in the world. And we know when things are synchronized, when things are organized, they're more efficient. So these aren't just a bunch of random pedophiles just sick in their mind doing their own thing. They're organizing and possibly doing these things synchronistically and liking it. The sadistic pleasure that they are getting out of these sorts of things is something no normal person can turn a blind eye to. So when you're a responsible adult and you see atrocities like this happening on your planet, you have a hard time sleeping at night. And in order to sleep better, you take action. And Alatra, all across the planet, is filled with responsible adults that are willing to be the voice of these children. So that house of cards has a massive tornado coming its way. And I think that this is something that all people on the planet can really get behind, because if we don't protect our children, then what sort of future does this planet really have, other than a bunch of traumatized adults who can't function in a normal society because of these sorts of things that are happening. So I'm grateful to everyone in Alatra, to Pastor Burns, to the ambassador of Tanzania, and all the people that are willing to take responsibility to protect our planet. So, and thank you, Tali, for, working so hard and bringing all of this information to the public, and putting it in a way that people can really get behind and understand what's actually going on.
Thank you, Stephen. I think the most important thing from every responsible adult and the most natural thing is to protect children. No child should go through the, atrocities that the children described in these documentaries you can see on the screen right now. If you have not seen them, I urge you to watch them, because you will not be able to, just ignore it. The kind of things that happen to these children, no child in the world should experience. Children should have happy childhood. And one of the most important things is to show to the world that what has happened in Tanzania can never happen again. This case is, one of the most important, I think, hallmarks that will turn the course of history in the right direction. People should know what happened there. People should be aware in order not to let anything like this happen again. And if the information is going to be confirmed about the operation, about the fact that Alexander Dworkin was deliberately selecting individuals like this and working with them on the scheme similar to mafia, when they were forcing people to commit a murder in order to be part of the mafia, right? If this was a ritual that Jakub Jahl has to go through in order to become the representative on this network, because we are seeing his whole career skyrocket and he becomes this anti-cultist who is featured on CNN, who is featured on Prima News and other channels. Now you see Seznam Sprawy, iRozglas, and other, so-called media standing behind him. So how did this network was able to infiltrate all these organizations, how much finances were put into it. We know that USAID was used to support these organizations. We know that basically the organizations that was supposed to, stand for freedom and justice were defending the network of child abusers and the network linked to Russian FSB. So a much bigger investigation is coming up, and we are at the very beginning of it. So thank you for staying tuned. Thank you for sharing this message. If you have not seen these documentaries, you should definitely watch them, and write in the comment section below what are your thoughts on this topic, and what do you think is going to happen next? Write down your questions and we will answer them in our next episodes. Thank you for watching us. Thank you, Stephen, for being with us today, and we'll see you in our next episode.